welcome in, everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world. This is Coast to Coast, and we have a rare Thursday sighting of Jay. Got Stat Guy in the house. Pags is traveling back from a amazing weekend up there in New York. Those front-runner Phillies decided they wanted to be done already.
It's amazing. He was so beautiful and so chipper and so happy on that long, well-deserved train ride. I can only imagine that the train ride coming back was a little bit longer to him than it was going. And let me say this. There is not a mattress cover in the world that can prevent that poop stain from sinking in.
Oh, hey, all I'm going to say is you better start putting money on the Mets to make it to the World Series because certain trend in history looks like it's holding true again.
Yeah, and Stat Guy did mention it. Anybody that won that Milwaukee series was going to go. And so far, Stat Guy, we don't get too far ahead of the game, but so far your prediction is kind of starting to come to life. And I told Frankie the other day, because Frankie's a Yankees guy, and how interesting would it be? I mean, there's a lot of things I like to see. I like to see Detroit get there because of AJ Hinch, hopefully being able to put 2017 in.
I might as well show up and take my ribbon. Go ahead. Lay it on me.
Well, you weren't wrong, though, when you had said your bats didn't show up. If you look at Alec Baum in this series, 1 for 10, 3 hits on 37 at-bats. Realmuto, 0 for 9, 1 hit and 15 at-bats. And Brandon Marsh was 0 for 9, 2 hits in the last 27 at-bats. I think, though, the lack of bats showing up was one issue you guys had. I think the other issue you guys had was Hoffman in that bullpen session. In game 1, he gives up 3 runs after he relieves, I think it was Wheeler, who didn't give up anything. And then he comes back in game 4, I believe it was, and he gives up 3 runs again in relief of Suarez, who Suarez was pitching great. I think with the exception of, I want to say it was game 2, maybe. I think that the starter gave up, 3 or 4 runs. It was really your bullpen, specifically Hoffman, that really kind of did you guys a disservice, considering that the bats weren't there.
Yeah, both Hoffman and Strom both had a little challenge. Definitely not as, not the way that they pitched all season long. They pitched much better, and then they got into the playoffs and didn't do very well. But it's really the bats. I mean, with Bohm specific, it was, I think he went 0 for 4 with 6 pitches.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can't do that. You can't do that. You need to be able to look when you're not hitting the ball. You have to watch pitches. You have to see pitches go by. I understand that you don't want to get behind in the count, but you almost have no choice. You got to start seeing seeing the ball go by you a little bit so that you get a good understanding of where it is that you need to swing. Interestingly enough, Castellanos seemed to be the only one that was doing really well for us at the plate. And you can't really blame Harper either. Harper did what he was supposed to do. Schwarber, I think that leadoff home run, and that was it.
Yeah, because Schwarber didn't show up, Trey Turner didn't show up, and you guys spent a hell of a lot of money bringing Trey Turner there for him not to be doing what he should be doing. I got to tell you, Pags, I understand you're the ultimate Phillies fan. Nobody's gonna, and so I understand the position you have to take. Just like some of the Cowboys fans, sometimes they got to take the position they got to take, and the reason where I'm going with that is, you guys say you're going to come back hungrier next year, but you guys got bounced out by Arizona. I thought you guys were going to come back hungrier this season, and you did. I mean, if the regular season, you guys were great, and then but then when you got to the postseason this go around against the Mets, where was the hunger this time? And that makes me question or wonder, with this current lineup, are you really thinking they're going to come back to be hungrier after 2 times they should have come back hungry?
Well, I mean, they're getting paid a lot of money. I can't imagine. Yeah, I can't imagine they want to just do this for show. That they definitely want that ring. I mean, Harper doesn't want to go down in history as a guy who did, was at, this great and not win a chip.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's really what it comes down to. I mean, I think hunger comes from within, and
for sure
you need to be able. But baseball is a streaky game. You know what I mean? And the Mets were hot. They were playing hot, and it's like even though in the sixth inning they weren't getting runs in. They left a lot of guys on base. I mean, I think the first two innings they had bases loaded and left them stranded.
Yep.
But they just kept on coming and kept on coming and kept on coming. And you need that fire. The fire from 22 is out. You need to start a new fire.
Oh, for sure.
And I think maybe that's what they were riding. That they were riding the feeling from 22. And you don't just deserve to get back there. You have to earn it.
Yep.
And they didn't.
Absolutely. You got to earn it. You're damn right. And I told you, and I said this to everybody, this World Series, I really feel like this specific one with the quality of teams that are out there, the toughness of these teams that are out there, whoever wins the World Series, I feel like this year truly is a champion because it is not an easy road by any stretch of the imagination. Look what the Dodgers are, having to deal with the Padres. Look what the Guardians are, dealing with Detroit. And then, of course, your series. Look at the Yankees and Royals. I mean, there's a lot of really good competitive series that are out there. I just want to close this, and I'll turn to whoever else. I really feel bad for you, though, Philly, because you're having a rough year, man. No, seriously, because your Phillies get bounced out. Your Sixers get bounced out by the Knicks in the playoffs last go around, and then your Eagles are off to a rough start. I mean, I hope the Flyers can do something to just lift your spirits up a little bit because I don't like seeing you look sad all the time on ESPN.
So you say that season's over.
Well, the other weird thing too is this is showing you that maybe having the number 1 or the number 2 seed going into the playoffs is not what you actually want to have because since they've gone to this new playoff format, a number 1 or number 2 seed has not made the World Series. A number 6 seed has made the World Series in each of the last 2 years that they've gone to the new format. The number 1 or number 2 seeds have yet to actually win a first-round playoff series, and they've gone 5-19 in those first-round games. So now you're starting to see like the whole new format that they've gone with. The 1 and the 2 seeds that seem to be the more vulnerable teams once the playoffs actually start because they have that extra 5 days off where everybody else has to keep playing right through.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and like it says, if the Padres upset the Dodgers, this will be the third consecutive year that neither 1 or 2 seed makes it to the NLCS.
Yep, and that's all happened since they've changed this new format. And I think this ultimately was MLB's goal when they went with this format. They wanted to see more upsets in the playoffs, but I don't think they expected it to be at the level that it's at where none of the 1 and 2 seeds have been able to even advance out of that first round.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just have the super underdog Royals Padres series. all like 10 people will watch. It'll be amazing.
Actually, I wouldn't be surprised to see Detroit, the Tigers instead of the Royals.
Yeah, I think
they are, man. I mean, the Tigers, they swept Houston, convincingly. I want to say convincingly because we actually did put up a fight, but they did. They took us out, and then they're slowly working on the Guardians at this point.
Well, I think
we got to take them for real.
Yeah.
I think the Tigers' win yesterday basically clinched the series for Detroit because even if Detroit loses today, they have Tarek Skubal lined up for Game 5.
Yeah.
And the Guardians couldn't do anything against him in Game 2, and that's kind of what Detroit knew they needed. It needed to take Game 2, and they knew they needed to take 1 game at home to get Tarek Skubal on the mound twice.
Yeah.
Let me ask this real quick, Pags. How much do you think in the Philadelphia Phillies' minds, how much rent space are they giving that Francisco Lindor Grand Slam? That's got to be in their mind.
I mean, it doesn't matter because they went home.
Oh,
Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
I'm not
Like,
saying
how
now.
much
I'm saying when it comes next season.
No, next season's next season.
I
You're not
know
even going to
it
have all
is.
the same people. So, I mean, that's not going to be the thing. It'll be more the disappointment of the showing in that series as opposed to that one particular hit.
For sure.
And Rob, it doesn't matter if a team with a $5, bankroll or the $1 billion Dodgers has no effect on the Mariners. They are never going to spend money with this ownership group.
Well, I mean, with that
else owns it.
With that comment though, too, that doesn't even really make sense because three of the remaining, well, I should say, the remaining 3 playoff teams in the NL are in the top 5 in payroll.
Yeah.
And the Phillies were also in there. So the final 4 in the NL were all in the top 5 in payroll.
Yep.
Yankees are top 5 in payroll. And then, like, the Tigers and the Royals both have more money than what people think, even if their playoff roster doesn't have a ton of roster on it. The Royals still have over $100 million tied into their payroll. The Tigers are at about 99 to 100. The Guardians are really the only one that's in that bottom tier of payroll this year.
Yeah.
Well, look at Tampa Bay and what they did, right? They got the World Series, and they had probably one of the lowest payrolls in all of baseball. I don't think it comes down to how much money you spend. It probably helps bring in some free agents, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is how well that management and ownership gets this team prepped and ready to go. Now, yes, it does hurt. It does not hurt you to have talent, but I don't think that you have to spend all that money to get a championship. It comes down to how well that manager and that developmental hitting coach and pitching coach gets this team geared up and how much they bond and how much they put the work in.
I mean, talent helps.
It does. No, don't get me wrong. Talent does help. But I think we've clearly shown that, you don't have to have these big payrolls to get a damn championship.
Yeah, I know that the Mariners have also shown that no payroll doesn't get you championships either. So I definitely get where Rob's coming from, but at the same time, it doesn't matter if somebody that had no payroll at all won the series or, it doesn't matter. The Mariners are going to do what they've always done because it's the same ownership group and they sell tickets. They get enough people in the stands, it's profitable. So until that's not a thing, they don't care.
Yeah. Well, I think, do you think that maybe as long as Seattle maintains, at least a 500 or better record that you're good? Because I think if you were ever to go down to the level of the White Sox or the A's over a period of time, I mean, you got to imagine that's going to kill them.
Yeah, I mean, they've never been that though, right? Like they always find a way to be around 500, and so that keeps people going because they give you hope. Right, because
they give you hope for five. They give you hope for 5 months, and that 5 months gets people excited. And then if you kind of fade that last month, it's like, well, we were competitive for 5 months. Try again next year.
That's right. And then you miss the playoffs by 5 or less games every year. So people are like, man, next year it's gonna be our year. We only got to win 5 more games. And so it just keeps them coming back, and they're buying concessions and jerseys. I mean, it's actually very smart when it comes to a business standpoint. Because you're not spending the big money, but you're getting people in the stands buying all the stuff. Right. So you don't have that. You don't have that $200 million payroll.
Look, I mean, Dallas is great. Jerry is great at putting a good product out there. Not a great product, but a good enough product like Seattle, where you stay above 500 to keep the fan base hopeful. But again, it's a business. So, like you said, trophies aren't going to bring money. But as long as you give them a good competitive team, then the jersey sales and all that kind of stuff. I mean, Jerry has crafted that well. Look how great the
Mariners
organization.
The Mariners could actually learn something from your Cowboys because the way you guys do it is actually next level. Because you guys are decent during the season and then just absolutely shit the bed in the playoffs. And the best part about that is then all your fans burn their jerseys. They have to buy them again, right? That is the best marketing standpoint ever. You're just be like,
or they break TV
during the season. Then we're just terrible. Boom! You're buying multiple jerseys a year. It's amazing.
Hey, let me tell you something. The only ones that are buying those jerseys after breaking their TVs are the ones that had that extra stash of money. The ones that are breaking their TVs and aren't buying their jerseys, that's just because they broke their TV and can't afford them.
I mean, why do you think Walmart has those doorbuster deals on TVs every year? Because Dallas Cowboy fans exist.
Yeah, I'm a sticker stopper on that crap. Let me tell you. And I don't even go to now. I can just order it on Amazon because Amazon is about as cheap as Walmart. It comes right to your doorstep.
Have it drop right in your lap.
You need to earn that TV a little bit.
Hey, listen. When I was buying my house or building my house, I wanted to have TVs for the house already done. So I wanted to get them on Amazon. So I literally ordered 4 big screen TVs. They delivered them right to the house. My next door neighbor was like, "Yeah, you're gonna be the dude I'm robbing in about 2 days."
That's fair. That's fair. Man. So the newsworthy thing, right? Is Florida gets Milton going across, does maximum damage, and as we're talking about baseball, might as well share Tropicana Field here. The CNN had the coverage that pretty crazy video of the stadium here.
Did I get it with the roof blowing off?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
That's one way to get your new. That's one way to get your new stadium out of it quicker.
I mean,
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
this
look at
was
that.
CNN.
Jesus.
So that's the roof. It's the next images that are actually amazing.
Wow, that is great.
I mean, absolutely nuts how much damage happened to this building. Now, obviously, all of Central Florida got hammered. Reports of over 100 tornadoes prior to the hurricane making landfall. So, I mean, devastation is no joke. Sounds like there wasn't tons of fatalities, though, which is amazing. So, but hopefully their ability to clean everything up and rebuild down there is, hopefully.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, there being a Cat 4, I am stunningly surprised that it, wasn't more fatalities. I mean, that's just insane. Of course, I also said, hey,
it hit
like New Orleans
it hit
did
a Cat
when they
3.
put all the evacuees
Yes.
in there, but obviously you can't do that now.
Yeah, no, it was, to Peg's point, it was a category 3 when it made landfall.
Oh, was it a 3? Okay,
Yeah.
last I got was a 4, but okay. Either way,
Yeah, so-
Cat 3 is still pretty damaging.
When it was in the Gulf, it got up to a 4. By the time it made landfall, it was a 3.
Wow.
And once it got through the other side of Florida, it's a Cat 1 going out to the Atlantic.
Well, I guess for them, I mean, if there's a silver lining, at least it wasn't a Cat 4 when it hit, because if that's what a Cat 3 did, I can only imagine, what a Cat 4 would have done.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, and it was nervous because it at one point was Cat 5.
Yeah.
It did
I
hit
did
Cat
see
5.
that.
It had 200 mile per hour sustained winds.
Jeez.
The thing is now too with like the Rays' new stadium is not supposed to be done until 2028, I believe, is when their stadium is supposed to be done. You have to wonder at this point if they're even going to try to fix Tropicana Field and if they're just going to make Tampa Bay relocate. Because that stadium is so shitty. No, that stadium is so shitty to begin with. Now you're gonna have to look at like structural damage. You're gonna have to look at all the other kind of damage that doesn't show up, like in the videos and whatnot, to see if it's even worth trying to remodel it. And if it's not, what are the plans for Tampa Bay now? Do you relocate them to Louisville for a couple of years? Do you relocate them to Charlotte for a couple of years? Nashville even? Because those are all 3 teams that are trying to get an expansion team anyway. Relocate them to one of those markets, see what the baseball following is, and then when it gets time to get the next franchise, you can see if one of those markets held their own with the attendance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that or maybe they worked out a deal with Miami and just shared a stadium until they got it built back. I don't know.
They can't do that.
They can't do that.
Why go to a stadium? Why go to a stadium where nobody goes to in the first place? They might as well go play over at Steinbrenner Park.
I was just thinking
You know
for
what I mean?
fans that wanted, I guess Tampa fans that wanted to go see a game, it would be maybe closer for them to go see it. But yeah.
I mean, the only other option would be sending them up to Tallahassee to play at Florida State University. They get more attendance anyways than the Rays get.
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
So I think at Florida
Or
State,
Orlando, or send them to Orlando where they have a stadium over there that can be used.
Yeah, because I think
Oh, that's
Tampa
a good
Bay.
point as well. Yeah.
I think Tampa Bay averages like 11,000 per game, and Florida State was averaging 13,000 per game last year. So I mean, Florida State's got a big enough stadium where they'd be able to support the 11,000 that Tampa Bay averages.
Yeah. I mean, there's that. I don't know. They might just cut those structural supports off the top and open air stadium. Out there playing.
I mean, it's true.
Playing in 100 plus degree heat. That should be fun.
Yeah, that's why I don't think they can do an open air stadium there because of it. That's why Miami had to get their enclosed stadium, because when they used to play at Joe Robbie, the stinking field conditions were atrocious because of how hot it was.
Yep. No, I mean, they'll end up having to move somewhere because there's no way that. Well, I mean, I don't know. It depends on how much damage there is. You can't tell by the pictures, right? Because I mean, it's a sort of a soft top, so I mean that got ripped apart, makes a lot of mess, but doesn't necessarily mean there's a ton of structural damage. So, I imagine.
So interestingly enough, I think Montreal would work for them.
Yes,
moving them to Montreal would work for them, seeing that they are in the East, and that would actually make sense. It would actually Toronto, Montreal, that would actually make a lot more sense than I think even Nashville.
Yeah, like Nashville, Charlotte, Montreal would be nice because then you could rival them with Toronto in the same division.
Yeah.
Right. You think about it, it's closer for everybody because Baltimore, New York, Boston, Toronto, and Montreal. So, I think that actually makes a lot more sense to me.
Yeah. And I mean, Montreal's wanted a team back, so.
Well, they've been promised they get a team back when MLB goes back into expansion. So I mean, if this is how they get it, you just think and relocate Tampa Bay to Montreal, then that opens the door for a team to come back to Tampa Bay later, or it opens the door for two different teams later.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they definitely need to get rid of that soft top roof. Clearly, that's not the answer.
Well, I mean, that's already gone, so mission accomplished.
Yeah. Hey, I guess God took care of the destruction side of it.
They got rid of it free of charge.
That's right. Man, all that to say, if you are down in Florida, we hope you were safe. Hope there wasn't too much damage. We understand we're assholes on this show. It's fine.
Yeah, we don't care about all the damage. We just wanted to, where is Tampa Bay going to play?
I mean, in hindsight, that was the most excitement Tropicana Field had all year.
Oh man,
you have to say that.
That was throwing daggers.
And then you can kind of go the other way. Like, I know a bunch of people. It hit at Tampa straight on. Did their ship sink on that field? I heard that took on a lot of water over there. The bucket over at
Raymond James.
That's it.
Yeah.
See, now that would be a funny video to see. You see the video of the roof coming off at Tropicana Field. You see the big pirate ship floating at midfield at Raymond James.
That would be funny.
That would be amazing.
That might be reminiscent of the Goonies when the ship came out of the cave.
I would not be mad at
Sparrow on it.
That would bring a whole new meaning to Fire the Cannons.
Yeah.
Right. On the plus side, nobody's watching this show, so that works out.
Yeah, there we go. I can't imagine.
And even if they were, they aren't anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say if they were watching from Florida, they're like, we're reporting these guys.
Yeah,
for real.
All of our Facebook accounts are going to be deleted.
Right, it's all flagged.
It's all flagged. Hey, Facebook did suspend my account. I had to put a photo copy of my driver's license to get it reinstated. They thought I was portraying to be somebody else. I said, I don't know who else I would possibly look like or even act like. So I thought that really would be a problem, especially if you knew me and really watched my shit.
Man. And of course, this nonsense is brought to you in part by True Fusion Gym. Use the QR code on the screen for a free 5-day pass at any of the 3 locations here in the Pacific Northwest, whether it's Bellevue, Ballard, or University Village, their newest location. They have Pilates, boot camp, yoga, bar, hot rooms, much more. Find your edge at True Fusion Gym. And, of course, if you are into sports betting, you can do that right alongside us here at Coast to Coast. By using the QR code on the screen, get up to 125% of your initial deposit. You can do that up to 3 times. And, of course, there is a 10% bet guarantee. Conditions do apply.
You know, it's interesting. True Fusion, you know, quite the opposite of false fusion, wrong fusion, inappropriate fusion.
I mean, okay.
True Fusion.
Trying to figure out where we're going here.
Yeah, I was exactly it. I'm like, what did he mean by that?
No, I was just saying it's opposed to false fusion. Wrong fusion. I'm sorry. I really shouldn't talk sometimes.
You're just now realizing that?
Through therapy, I've learned, and this show has reinforced my therapy.
It has probably caused a lot of the therapy, actually.
That's true. But the VA is paying for it. Thank the Lord. Thank you, VA, because I could not afford therapy if it was not for you. I promise.
Hey, at least one person's still watching. Thanks for hanging out.
Hey, West Coast wins.
That being said, you know, I did want to go back. Chad asked a fantasy question here, but we were talking about baseball, so I didn't want to do it at the time. He's asking, start Gino or keep CJ. You absolutely keep CJ.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
this is going to be a weird.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to be a weird game for the Seahawks. I do think they put up some numbers, so I don't think you could go wrong with putting Gino in. CJ is also going to have a little bit of an interesting day too, but I think they have a much more winnable game.
CJ is going to have an interesting 4 weeks because Nico Collins is out for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, since we're talking fantasy football real quick, Bo, and Pags, that guy, you know, I got to put Dowdle because I lost Nico Collins for a couple of weeks. So I got to put Dowdle in my flex position. He's the only one I had left. He's going to go up against Detroit, obviously, Sunday. How do you think he's going to fare in that? Like, what do you think?
Like, he'll have an okay day. Like, he's not putting up points, if that's what you mean. Like, he's not going to be a great addition to the team. But I imagine he's going to be, you know, he'll have that like 8-point kind of day.
Okay.
Would be my guess.
Well, that'd be fine because the guy I'm playing with, all my other guys are going to, you know, their matchups are much more favorable. So if I can get if I can get at least 8 points out of him, then I should be able to pull off the win.
Yeah, I mean, that feels like the kind of day he'll probably have. It's like
okay. Well, then that makes me feel good because I was contemplating that when I was like, God, I'm putting him in there, but I know Detroit's got a fairly good defense. I just wasn't sure what to expect.
Yeah, but their defense, they don't have as good a cornerbacks as they've had in the past.
Yep.
So they will be able to give up some yardage.
Okay. Oh,
yep.
Good deal. I feel a little bit better. No, I'm doing pretty good. I'm on a 4-game win streak right now, so I'm trying to keep this bad boy alive so I can try to get close to first. I'm in second right now. Maybe I can get first. I don't know.
Yeah, I actually, I'm like second place in total points, and my record is 2-3. So it just shows you that like every team I'm playing against has got like their monster week.
Oh, for sure.
Against me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just circled on the calendar. We're like, we're beating this guy no matter what. People have crappy days. They're going to all of a sudden score like 30 points. So now for me, it's okay.
No, I have my problem is this week. Pat Mahomes is on the bye, so I have to pick up a quarterback because I dropped my quarterback. I said my backup quarterback because he was stinking, and I needed a running back. So I was like, I got rid of him. So I am picking up Daniel Jones. As ridiculous as that sounds,
how about you must be desperate if you're picking up Daniel Jones.
He's actually had multiple passing touchdowns in the last couple of weeks and has been playing better.
Yep.
So whether and they're going up against somebody who doesn't have a great defense. So
yeah.
I was like, all right, well, let's give it a shot.
Yeah, they're up against the Bengals, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think so.
Right, and the Bengals have no defense right now. They got to outscore teams.
Yeah.
So I expect this to be like 38-35 game.
Yeah, it's funny. In my pick'em, I have selected, like, I've logged back in, been like, I think the Giants can get it, and then I'm like, but the Bengals. Right? So there's two games that I've really just like gone back and forth on.
Yeah.
And no matter which one I pick, I'm gonna pick wrong. That just seems like the year that this is. But the other one is the Colts and the Titans, right?
Oh yeah.
Because I do think that
Joe Flacco was the other guy I was thinking about.
What's that?
Flacco.
Joe Flacco was the other guy I was thinking about. But
You know, I
wouldn't have taken Flacco
I did
because
not.
yeah, and not because of Flacco, but because the Titans actually have the best defense in the league. Now they don't have the best pass rush, but when it comes to total yardage and stuff, they're number one.
They don't give up a lot of yards.
Yeah, so it's good that you didn't, because he'd probably actually throw a couple picks and really mess your week up.
You know, hey, I saw on Facebook. No, it was a Facebook. Maybe it's ESPN. But Jalen Daniels was quoted basically as saying, I'm paraphrasing, that he is not upset, but he does not like the fact that people are comparing him to Lamar Jackson. So apparently that is kind of eked a nerve in him.
That seems weird to me. I would love to be compared to a multiple-time league MVP.
Yeah.
That would hurt my feelings.
In his defense, he responded to it basically saying Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson. I'm Jaden Daniels. I'm not Lamar Jackson. I don't need to be compared to him.
No, I mean, that's fair enough. But, I mean, like, if somebody's like, oh, you know, we're comparing you with a guy that's won 2 in the last, 4 or 5 years, like, that's not going to hurt my soul. Right, like
I mean, it wouldn't hurt my soul either, because, like I said, at least it's a compliment, right? Because you're, like you said, multiple MVP. But I do understand where Jalen's coming from, because I think he wants to be his individual. He wants to be recognized for who he is, and so I understand he doesn't want that comparison. But if you're making a comparison, that's not a bad comparison. I think it's time we take Washington for real. I mean, the more I watch this Washington team, the more I'm like, yeah, these guys are. They're pretty good.
Well, that's where this weekend's game is huge. And it's huge for both teams, because this is going to be a real test for Washington right against the Ravens. And then at the same time, this is a real look at what the Ravens are. Like, are they really leaning into this run game, or was that just a couple of weeks? Like, so for me, that's actually probably the game of the week. It is probably going to be the most entertaining game for me, anyway, this whole weekend.
Well, yeah, and for sure, and Derrick Henry is definitely. It's almost like you see a reemergence of this guy, and I don't know if it's just, maybe they get a better offensive line, make him a little better, but the guy just seems like he's running out of his shoes.
Well, when you think of the fact that he's leading the league in rushing, and they barely used him the first 2 weeks, imagine if they actually gave him the 25 carries a game the first 2 weeks. He probably has another couple hundred yards.
Do you think his body can handle, though, if he got bumped up to that? I mean, because he's I'm saying since he's a little older in the tooth, do you think that over the course of a season that he could maintain that without obviously getting injured?
Yeah,
because he's not going to handle 30. He's not going to take 30. Go ahead, Pigs.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm pulling into the station, so I'm probably going to have to let go.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah, that's right. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Be well, my friend. Be well.
Later.
But
what I was going to say is Derrick Henry's not going to be asked to take the ball 30, 35, 40 times in a game anymore. He's not going to have that kind of punishment anymore.
I don't think he's going to be asked to do that, but around that 25 mark, absolutely. And I still don't think he gets – I don't think he gets injured in that scenario, because their offensive line is actually opening holes.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. Like, if he doesn't take the 30, 35 carries like he used to, 25 carries for him is nothing. Like,
No, exactly.
25. He'll be going up to the coach and be like, "Shit, you want me to only touch the ball 25 times? Done. Let's go."
Well, and then his initial contact isn't with a 350-pound lineman like it was a season ago. Now he's taking on
40-pound linebacker.
Exactly. So, I mean, those hits are significantly less impactful. And a lot of times when you're getting taken out by an offensive lineman, you're getting rolled up on the legs. Whereas when you are out hitting linebackers, you're squaring off. And so it's just a different kind of contact. So, yeah, if he has a 25 carry-ish, kind of in that range per game, yeah, absolutely. He'll eat that up.
Yeah, he will. I'm curious. Let me ask you this. Nick Chubb is getting ready to come back pretty soon, right? I said, of course he would.
Frankie, you showed up too late, man. You had your shot. He was here the first half.
Yeah, anyway. Frankie is. He's a little day late and $1 short, like he was in both. But no, I don't know what we were talking about anymore. My brain is too old.
We were talking about Derrick Henry.
No, I knew we were talking about Derrick Henry. I just forgot my freaking point. Don't worry about it. In about 20 minutes, it'll come back, and the show will be over, and I'll tell you.
The one game I'm really interested to see this weekend is the Saints game, because they're starting Spencer Rattler, who at one point was seen as the number one draft prospect in the country until he kind of went into hiding for a little bit after he left Oklahoma, but then he ended up having a good couple of years at South Carolina. If Spencer Rattler goes out there and plays well, at what point
there it is. By natural selection, he is
at that point. Even
no,
the internet we're talking nonsense.
I don't know what the heck happened there. That was weird.
God, sir.
But what I said was, if Spencer Rattler goes out and plays well, At what point do you just stick with him then? Because he is the Saints' future at quarterback. It's not Derek Carr beyond this contract. And I think Carr's got 1 year left after this. So if he goes out in that offense, all of a sudden starts playing well in the next couple of weeks under Rattler, you just roll with him.
Yeah, I think that's no different than like with Fields and Russ. I mean, Fields started off the season playing well, and of course that really put Russ on the back seat. I mean, that's just the nature of the business. They're going to roll with whoever has the hot hand for the most part. I mean, I know there's extenuating circumstances why they probably wouldn't, maybe contract value, things like that. But
yeah, I mean, so I am curious to see what Rattler has, but at the same time, I don't think he's going to have anything that's going to be impressive, right? So if he's in there for a few weeks, which all indications kind of make it look like that would be the case, they may just stick with him because the Saints will be kind of out of it by then.
Right.
Because from the sound of it, it sounds like Carr could be out a few weeks.
I think it said 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. So in that scenario, if they drop 3 games, like they're gonna lose the game this week, right? Like the day's gonna beat them up. But if they go 0-3 in that span, is there a chance that they just stick with him anyway? Sure, why not? Like your season's basically toast. So
yeah, exactly. You might as well find out what you truly have in the quote unquote heir apparent, if that really is the case. So yeah, I think so. Question, Nick Chubb. I remember what my point was. I was asking you about Nick Chubb. He's getting ready to come back soon, right? I mean, I think he comes off the PUP list. It should be probably next week. I think they're probably looking at maybe bringing him around week 8 or week 9 of the season. What do you think he picks up in rhythm, or do you think it's going to be a slow progression for them to ramp back up?
Honestly, if I'm Nick Chubb, I'm going to Kevin Stefanski, and I'm basically telling him, you want me to play, you sit Deshaun Watson. Because at this point, what incentives does Nick Chubb have at this point? Cleveland is a freaking dumpster fire. Like, what incentive does he have to go out there right now and get the ever-living shit kicked out of him?
No, I would absolutely, be like, lingering, whatever. Because, I mean, when you have your quarterback straight up giving up on a play in the middle of the game, and at a point in the game where you still had time to try and make a comeback, I mean, I wouldn't want to play there either. And I think this is kind of where you're seeing this has to be ownership dictating Deshaun has to be on the field. Because there's no way
unless you're Carolina, there is no other team in the NFL that, if Deshaun Watson pulled what he pulled last week, would be starting this week.
There's very few scenarios where he would have stepped back on the field that day.
Yeah, I think Carolina, just because of how functional David Tepper is, that might be the only other team where Deshaun Watson would have gotten back on the field and then would have obviously started this week. But every other team, he would not have been back out on that field that day, and he would not be starting this week.
No,
I hear what you're saying with Deshaun, but at the same time, I think Dalton is still playing fairly good enough in Carolina but I don't know if I would take a chance on Deshaun. And why would I want to bring a cancer?
Oh, no. That's not what he was saying.
No, because Deshaun Watson quit.
Dysfunctional, they would have dictated him having to play anyway.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, like Deshaun Watson literally quit on Kevin Stefanski, quit on his team in the middle of the play, and then he was right out there the next series. And not only that, he's starting again this week. Like Carolina would have been the only other team that would have been like, "Oh shit, you quit on the last series." Well, we quit on the whole season so far. Just go back and get out there.
Yeah, I mean the fact that they haven't pulled the trigger on just trying the backup, right? Like your offense is completely inept. Why not try something else? But yeah, to your point, if it's Chubb, like I'm not trying to get out there.
Yeah,
I'm just going to go get beat up for what?
Beat up for a guy that doesn't even want to play here?
Yeah, I mean, like this easily goes down as and I understand the Russell Wilson contract exists. Like he never even took a snap for the contract that they're paying him. But this Deshaun contract has to be the absolute worst contract in the history of football. And that's saying something because Wilson's contract was hot garbage also.
Yeah. And let's be honest, it's not like Dak Prescott's contract is any better. I mean, we made him the highest quarterback in the –
No, but he's at least producing. Like you're winning games and stuff.
Yeah.
When you look at Deshaun,
but you look at it though too. Look at what Cleveland basically turned Houston into with that trade.
They sure did.
C.J. Stroud, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, John Mechie, and Damian Pierce, who's hurt right now, all came as part of that Deshaun Watson trade.
Yeah. Yep. The only other trade I know that was better than that was the Herschel Walker trade that Jimmy pulled off back in the day. I mean, that has to go down as the best, trade ever, to be honest with you, because that literally is what built Dallas into what Dallas was. But I would say that this trade here with Deshaun was probably the second best trade after that, to be honest. But in terms of
the Wilson to Denver was a pretty wicked trade for the Seahawks.
Okay,
and the Bears Panthers, with the Bears getting DJ Moore plus the number 1 pick the next year, which turned out to be Caleb Williams.
But I'm still waiting to see more of that fruit come out on that one. But I understand what you're saying, but I'm still waiting to see more on that one. I think the Seahawks, what he's saying is better.
Even the Rams, Washington RG3.
Yeah.
I mean, the Rams got like 15 people out of it.
Yeah, that one was a good one.
Sticking with the Rams, you have the Rams and Lions too.
Yep.
Lions not only got Jared Goff, but they got 3 first-round picks that turned out to be Aiden Hutchinson. It turned out to be Jahmyr Gibbs and somebody else.
So the thing with that one is that was the most win-win trade I think I've ever seen in the league, because the Lions got significantly better. They finally won a playoff game. Like, they're relevant. Like, it was a huge win for the Lions. At the same time, the Rams got over the hump and got the ring. Like, if there was ever a time that it was just like, this trade actually just worked, that's probably the trade you'd look at.
Let me ask you a question. Since we're talking contracts and trades, obviously Deshaun Watson is the first player to ever get a fully guaranteed contract. Now that he kind of
Kirk Cousins was the first one to get 3 freaking fully guaranteed damn contracts.
Yeah, no. Kirk Cousins is a magician at the bank.
But I thought Deshaun was the first one to do that. Okay,
honestly, though,
biggest.
Yeah, honestly, with Kirk Cousins may never go into the Hall of Fame, but his damn agent should, for the shit that he got Kirk Cousins.
Oh, no,
that's a good point.
Like, his freaking agent should be going as a first ballot Hall of Famer for the amount of freaking guaranteed money that he got Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. No,
I guess I was just my curiosity is because obviously Deshaun did so bad, and obviously now that he's quit on his team and walked off the field, does that have any kind of negativity for ownerships to not want to give that fully guaranteed contract?
Well, the entire league came together after that and were like, we're not doing this. Because when you look at the guys that signed contracts after that, you're looking at Joe Burrow and, guys that could try and demand a fully guaranteed contract. And the owners were just like, yeah, we're not doing any of that. Like, we'll give them guaranteed money, but we're not doing what the Browns did.
Like in Kirk Cousins' defense, like at least with the fully guaranteed contracts that he got, he at least played well enough where he earned that money to a point. Like he may have not have been like a $45 million quarterback because he didn't really win many playoff games. But if you look at the statistical numbers that he put up, he at least played at a level where you could make that contract justified.
Yeah.
Versus Deshaun Watson is literally showing up and he's playing worse than a 7th-round pick.
Yeah. What's going on, Melvin? What's up, Glenn? Glenn is currently in the top #1 spot in the Unscripted Fantasy Football League.
Yeah.
But I'm coming for you, Glenn. Coming for you.
So, it's funny. Speaking of, some of the fantasy stuff. So I have the Pick'em League, right? And I've been getting smoked. Like it is, because of all the upsets, it's just been like, oh, okay, cool. So fortunately, everybody else has struggled kind of as well. So it
balances
somehow after having a few rough weeks here, I'm sitting in 5th and I'm only like 3 games out. So it's just like, okay, like I don't feel so bad because man, after a couple of weeks, I was down in like 8th. I was like 6 games out. I was just like, man, we're not very far into this season. I'm like, I'm way out of this thing. So at least I'm sort of climbing my way back in. But man, a lot of these upsets are killing me right now.
There's nothing worse than fantasy football when you got 3 guys playing at the same time and you're sitting there watching to see how, your score should be taking these dramatical jumps. And yet you just sit there like 2 points.
Yeah, no, it's when you see the guy that you left on your bench who's been a non-factor
all
all year.
The doors off the roof. Yeah.
You're looking at it like, how did he score 30? He hasn't had 30 all year combined.
Well, for me,
I had Dak and I had Mayfield on the bench, and Dak was, he was doing all right, but he wasn't doing anything great. And Mayfield's over there 20 points and 20. And I'm like, okay, fuck this. I'm going straight to Mayfield.
That was like,
in, and I get like 9.
That was like my son this week though. Like my son had Juju Smith-Schuster and Kareem Hunt on his bench.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And then he ends up losing by 8 points. I'm like, that's that was 38 points that you left on your bench right there.
Right? Juju had a day.
It did.
Like I could understand leaving Juju there, but I'm like, damn.
I mean, the worst fantasy feeling is if when you lose by like 20, and then you look at your bench. And you're like, if I would have plugged in this, and this guy, I had the right line. I mean, I had the right players. I just didn't have the right lineup. And all you can do is basically just look at yourself like, crap.
That's like when you have that defense that's been money all year, and you're like, okay, I need my defense to stand up. And then they give you like a -4, and you're like, wait a minute. Like,
I got fantasy dilemmas this weekend for college football fantasy.
Yeah.
I got to either start Jalen Milroe or Cam Ward at quarterback. I don't know who I got to start yet. And then at wide receiver, I have to choose between Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State or the good freshman at Alabama.
I mean, it seems like Ward would be the pick there.
Who's Bama playing this week?
I don't even know. But Jalen Milroe's got me so many damn points, and so is Cam Ward. That's the problem.
Yeah. Do you know who Miami's playing?
Miami's got an easier opponent, but Jalen Milroe gets the rushing yards and the rushing touchdowns versus Cam Ward just gets the passing yards and passing touchdowns.
Well, I think you kind of answered your question because if you're getting both ends of the stick, I might go with both ends of the stick versus just one.
Well, I mean, last week I started Jalen Milroe against Vanderbilt, and I think Jalen Milroe ended up with, 37 points total. And Cam Ward ended up with 39.
Yeah, but that point you're splitting 2 points. I mean, unless the rest of your team is just horrible or something.
See, that's rough when you snag McCaffrey. And McCaffrey's honestly, it sure sounds like he's going to be done for the year.
Well, now they're saying he might be ready by week 7, so I don't know what report to listen to anymore.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I always,
Famous plan stuff
every
going
time I've ever played fantasy football, I've never had the number 1 spot. Never. I've always been 4th, 5th, whatever. I think this year, I think I was like 6th or something. And the one time last year, so when I played last year, I got the number 1 pick, and I said, all right, I'm going Nick Chubb. Well, Chubb goes down week 1. I'm like, crap. Then it goes well, and like the rest of the season, I'm literally because my whole team just got riddled with injuries. I'm literally living through the waiver wire in the sleepers.
So based on everything you're saying, would you please, whenever you're playing, never select a Seahawk?
I have two
Add
Seahawks.
Juju to yourself.
No, but
I have 2 of them.
Okay, who gets the number 1 pick? I mean, that's like the coveted spot. But you know what I realized? It's not the coveted spot.
It is not.
Really?
No, you actually, like if you have like a 10 or 12 player league, that 5 or 6 spot is nice because you're high enough up that you still get that like a true first round selection guy. And then you're not so far away from your next pick, right?
Right.
Like I've never had the first, but I've had the last. And you're like, oh, yeah, I get 2 picks in a row. It's like, well, that's great because the entire first round is gone already. So, like, that key, like, fundamental player that you wanted is already on another team. And, so, just, I don't know.
In all honesty, I
Being in the
mean,
middle's the best.
Even at that 5 and 6, I mean, I don't know how you guys draft, but I mean, at 5 and 6, I'm probably going to try to take the best I can get. In other words, I'm going to try to take the best. If the quarter, I mean, if the wide receiver is gets more points than the running back that's available, I'll probably go wide receiver, and then vice versa. I mean, I think I'm looking more for because you're in that middle weird spot. It's not like you're getting back-to-back picks if you're at 12 or 1. So it's a whole different crazy strategy, right? When you're drafting in terms of how you're going to draft, right?
Well, it's a little easier. Like when you have them back-to-back, in this case, you'd be last, right? The guys that you would want in that first round are mostly gone, right?
For sure.
So you get 2, which is, it's cool, but, or if you're first is actually kind of rough because you get the 1 dude you want, but you're 20 picks away from your next pick,
so by the time you come around.
Exactly. Whereas, when you're in the middle, like you're going to get a decent player in each round. Like
exactly. No,
like
I agree
a guy
with that.
that's worth that level of pick is still going to be available in that spot. So it's that's usually like that's where I would like to pick, but
and I think that's exactly where I want to say I either fell 5th or 6th, but I know I was right in that little sweet spot there, and it really showed because I mean I had the auto draft because I was late getting there because of traffic, unfortunately, but. When I got there, I set up my guys nice where, I mean, I had CeeDee Lamb, I had Nico Collins, I had Dak Prescott. It was really nice. Like I was really like you said, I was getting those sweet spot players, and it really did help out a lot. I think if it had been if I'd have been closer to 12 or 1, I don't know if it would have turned out quite as good.
Oh, for sure. Well, and it also matters on who's in your league, right? Because sometimes, some leagues guys will pick quarterbacks in like the 3rd round. And then in some leagues, they'll pick quarterbacks first. Like they're just getting my dude. And so, you kind of have to figure out the people you're actually playing with. So, it definitely, I don't know. It's interesting. There's a lot of gamesmanship to it for sure. Geno is a serviceable second option. There's no doubt. That being said, that does get us to the top of the hour. If you've been watching along on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. Helps us bring our content to you. If you are watching on Roku, stay tuned for the next hour. And, of course, at 11 a.m. Pacific, I will be back on with our Pick'em show. So stay tuned for that. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your day. Take it easy, everybody.